everyone. Welcome to this artist interview, episode 11. I am not the regular host. The regular host cannot be here today. Her name is Trinity Bliss. I am the host that's taking care of her spot. My name is William Crawford, and we have a great faculty member here. Such an honor to take her time out of her day to come here and be part of this great interview. Her name is Sheila Del Bosque. Welcome to this interview. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, hello, everyone. First of all, thank you so much for the invitation to be here and to be part of your team. As you say, my name is Sheila Del Bosque, and I'm a Cuban flutist, composer, and conductor. I am originally, from Havana, Cuba, and I came a couple of years ago. It's going to be actually 5 years now in January since I came from Havana to Boston. What a journey. I was actually studying at Berkeley, so I did my undergrad at Berkeley. I did performance in jazz and film scoring. I did a dual major with a minor in conducting. I was like, how can I squeeze Berkeley? So I did everything there. And right now, I actually graduated, and I was studying as well, teaching at Wellesley College, an incredible college. And I'm doing now my master at the Berkeley Global Jazz Institute. Again, like pursuing my dream of performing jazz and do actually this kind of interesting blending that is classical music with jazz, with Cuban music. Because all my background actually in Cuba was classical music. I spent like hours just, with my instrument in the practice room, full classical music, playing in orchestras, touring. So right now what I'm actually trying to focus is in my educational path as well, in the performance, trying to do this incredible mix of all my influences. And also right now as well pursuing the dream of conducting as well, very linked to social things. We were actually just talking about a few minutes ago about a concert I just did, focusing in living women composers, and so maybe we can also talk about that later. But that's who I am, like Cuban flutist, conductor, composer, a little bit of all these incredible mix of different universes, different words that I'm trying to put together.
That's awesome. Yeah, I definitely got the influence from you because I'm also a Berkeley student and everything. So again, what you're saying right there, I'm actually taking conducting next semester. So I'm doing kind of the same thing you're doing, and it's grateful to be at this wonderful college and everything, and just be part of that and everything like that. So this is great. So where are you originally from?
So as I said, I'm originally from Havana, Cuba. So I grew up in a very incredible country that is Cuba, full of great music, great culture. We had so many talented people there, and of course for Cuba, the music is just fundamental for our life. And I was so grateful, to grow up in this country full of, rumba, cha-cha-cha, dance song, mambo, all this incredible music that we have sung, like it's originally from Cuba, but with this incredible mix of the European tradition as well. Cuba basically has too many influences. That is the African tradition with all the process of slavery that came to Cuba. And then we have the European tradition, of course. We were a colony of Spain for centuries until the 20th century, actually. So, of course, we had this duality, these two words happening at the same time. And that actually may make Cuba an incredible country full of influences from different parts of the world. So growing up in Cuba with all those musical and cultural influences was just amazing. And I think definitely that's something that made a lot of influence in who I am and in my music and in the approach to life as well, because culturally also it's like sometimes I feel like it's like a bubble, like I grew up and I'm making also fun of this. Like I grew up without internet, without like, any technology. It was kind of challenging at the same time, because we were lacking enough maybe information. We're on an island, so it is very hard to actually have contact with people from other countries and all that. But at the same time, it was like I feel so fortunately because I was growing up with like real things, and I was just spending hours and hours with my instrument. That was like that was my PlayStation in a way. Like this is actually my instrument, and I was starting to play the flute when I was 10 years old. So my instrument, the flute, it was like an extension of my voice. And it was a way of escaping in a way from reality. And also it was a way of, I don't know, like speaking a different language that can get so deep, sometimes deeper than, than words.
Yeah, I definitely feel that way with music. Like this past semester, I was actually studying a lot of Latin beats and stuff. I was doing Afro-Cuban, Songo beat, if you heard of that.
Oh, beautiful.
Samba, the good old bossa nova and everything like that.
Oh yeah, Brazil is another country that is just amazing. So many great musicians from there, great music, great rhythms, and because all of this music is so related to dance as well. So it has a component, of dancing. Like how can I link this music to the beat, like to this groove, amazing that just like it moves you, it moves your body, and it's something that you just can't stop it. And it's just amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Like when I hear the music, just you get it moving on and everything like that. It's just definitely a great groove and great dance and everything like that. Like I know I know you talk a lot about the music over there. So when you grew up there, did you have a music program in your like earlier days, like elementary, middle school, high school and stuff? Like,
Oh yeah. Actually Cuba is very interesting because like when you think about Cuba, and of course this is also related to stereotype. But you think about rumba and salsa and Cuban culture and the popular music. You don't think about Mozart or Bach or like Beethoven. You don't think about that music necessarily when you think about Cuba. But the interesting thing about Cuba is that the system of the educational system of music in general is actually based in European music. So we actually in schools we don't necessarily study Cuban music, but we actually study European classical music, and it's a very demanding system. Like I was starting to study music when I was like around 10 years old. So it was just like a little girl, and it was with with the deepness and the focus of a professional student. Like, okay, this is your career. Like I took it very seriously. This is not something that I'm gonna do for fun. Like culturally is very different. This is gonna be my career, so you need to be like 100% focused, and you need to be willing to do sacrifices. It is like this mentality that now I see it. It's like, it's not perfect. I guess the good thing about it is like I was so focused that like I had it clear. Like I didn't actually question myself. So it was a very intense program. If you're actually studying woodwinds or guitar or percussion, or drums, you actually start when you are 10 years old. If you're actually studying piano or strings, you're actually starting when you are around 7 years old. So you're actually studying, from a very early age. And again, it's like it's an elementary school of music, 100%, music. Of course, you'll do math, history, science. You do all the stuff. So the music is actually the extra, but at the same time, it's the main focus. And then you do the conservatory. I did, after my elementary school, I did the conservatory as well in Havana. And then I actually did my first bachelor. So I studied in the University of Cuba, the University of Arts, and I did my first bachelor as a performance major in classical music. So, the Berkeley was actually my second bachelor. And now I'm doing my master's and now I'm actually doing my second master. I'm this kind of person. I just love to study. And I think that's never stopping. But definitely the system in Cuba is, I would say it's very strict and is based in European classical music. And the Cuban music and all this popular music actually comes to you, from the school of streets, by playing with people, by going to concerts, by jamming. But definitely I think it's something we need to change in a way if we want to preserve the Cuban music in a way that is not just by oral thing, but it's like, based also in a method that we can share to people, and people actually interested in this kind of music can have something that actually, when I came to Berkeley, I perceived the great method they had to study jazz and to teach jazz. And it's also a way of preserving this music. And I say, we're missing this in Cuba, because we are sometimes, and this is a phenomenon as well that happens in so many countries, that we're validating the external culture in a way, but we're not validating what we already have. We're not conscious about, the value of our culture. And I think that's super important and more, now than ever.
Yeah, like as a nonprofit Louis Theater company, we are devoted to overcoming challenges. So what has it been like for you to developing as a person? And what are some things that you found hard or you have struggled with?
Challenges as a musician or as a human being, as a professor?
Probably, yeah, just as a musician or student, just say like music wise.
I guess in general, it's very hard to make a living from the music. And I'm, especially nowadays when you are seeing how the technology is also, changing so fast, and you see like artificial intelligence actually composing something in a couple of minutes, just by you, setting some parameters, like I want you to compose something sad, and then you just have it in a couple of minutes, and you don't need a composer. You have Spotify that, you just can have access to any music around the world in just a couple of seconds. So, I feel like we musicians need to adapt ourselves to this new reality. Because of course, like technology is changing, society is changing, the way we do things is definitely changing, and the way we're gonna do things is gonna change even more and more. So I think the challenge for me is, how can I make a living of the thing I love, that in this case is music, and actually, in the last time I have been reading a lot and trying to also do some research about also, the Web3 and the NFTs and all this incredible thing that is also at the same time opening some doors. Because sometimes what I feel is like we have a lot of third parties. So if you think about a simple math, we musicians sometimes no, we actually need to pay to a company that actually put our music in third companies, like for example Spotify. So we need to pay to this for our music to be there, and then we also need to pay the Spotify fee to actually be able to listen to music. It's like, and actually the one that is actually getting all the money is Spotify, or or these people that actually are putting your music up. It's like the audience is paying, the musician is paying. How can this work? I'm paying for my music to be heard. It's very complicated. So, this kind of simple math, or, like people sometimes think because we are doing something we love, we need to do it for free or to get experience, this kind of situation that for me don't make any sense. Like, people can sometimes ask, hey, can you do just for free, or can you actually play this gig just for fun? It's like, yeah, but this is a career, like, and I think it's our mission as artists and musicians, to actually inform people that music is just not a hobby, and music is important. And I have been studying this for a while, like, and people actually in America spend thousands of dollars in education as any other university. This is a career, and I think we musicians need to educate people about it. And because, like I say, in I make a joke about it, but it's actually kind of sad. Like, you don't actually ask to a lawyer, or you don't ask to a doctor, hey, can you actually just do this surgery for fun, just for you to get experience? Or can I actually have this appointment with you just to get experience? Like, you don't ask these kind of things, So I think it's also a matter of respect and education, but it's our mission. So that's for me is going to be the challenge of this time. How can we musicians educate people about the mission of music that is so important? If you think the pandemic without music, if you think, like, about the importance of music therapy, I have been doing concerts in nursing homes, in psychiatric hospitals, and you see the importance of the music there for those people. It's just healing. The music heals, the music unites us, the music humanizes us. It's just so important for the society to understand the mission of music. And I think it's our mission as artists and musicians also to share that and educate people about it.
Yeah, I definitely get all that as being a musician too. So it's it can be kind of challenging with everything going on. So now we have a song from Sheila. So tell us about your song that you're going to propose to us.
Yeah, let's start probably with Si mi isla fuese niño. And this is a song I composed a while ago. I was about to go to the Next Generation Jazz Festival in Monterrey. That is a very nice jazz festival. And Berkeley said, okay, but I need a video with your trio just to promote the concert in the jazz festival. And I said, like, okay, and it was like 1 week actually I needed to do a video. And I say, okay, but I don't want actually to record something that is like a standard, just like a usual thing, but I want to compose something for this video. And like, I had like a week or so to compose something. And I say, okay, how can I compose something that is also true to myself and that actually share with people like a part of me and part of my culture. So Si mi isla fuese niño, it means if my island were a child. And it's just this like kind of utopic vision about Cuba. Like, how about if my island were a child? What could that be? How is this child? Is this melancholic? Is fun? It's mean, or it's like, what are the personalities of this kid? And just a tune basically is very emotional to me, and it is a tune about family, about my childhood there, about friends, and about this utopic vision of Cuba, without sadness, without the deepness of all the bad things that can happen to a country, or the suffering, or the lack of everything, or the necessity. Like, it is kind of this utopic vision. How about if we actually remove all that and we have this sense of joy? So yeah, it's basically that.
That's awesome. So now we're going to show this video. Hopefully y'all enjoy. That was incredible. Just
Oh, thank you.
the flute playing skills, it is just off the charts, and I love it. This is probably one of the best flute playing I've ever heard.
Oh
But
my, yeah. I will share some more music, but thank you so much. Thank you so much. It means a lot, and I think also we are in an incredible time when people actually have more access to to the music from all around the world. So I feel actually so grateful and privileged to like we can just, like I said before, we just can have access in a couple of seconds to all the music we want, and I think that's just an amazing tool. I mean, it's challenging at the same time because we have so many information that how can we actually choose what to hear, what to listen. But definitely, it means a lot to me. So thank you so much for listening to it.
that's yeah, it's bravo. So tell us something you're good at besides music.
Let me see. I actually love writing. Um, I'm not sure if I'm good at it, because it's just a kind of thing that you just do for yourself, at least me. But I actually have been working in some poetry, and sometimes actually when I'm performing, I make this kind of performance beyond music. So sometimes I'm playing the flute, but I'm also using electronics, and this is something I also incorporate into my music, the use of electronics. So I can actually put some speeches. I actually just did a performance. It was about the women rights, so I was actually putting some speeches about women rights. At the same time, I was performing and improvising with electronics and distortion and all that. And I was actually starting with a poem I did, so what I like about writing, first of all, because it's kind of a way of expressing. You see, I'm very interested in languages, and not necessarily when we communicate through words, but also in the language of music, and how can I actually express and communicate and connect to people from different perspectives. So I found actually the writing was very helpful just to understand better myself, just to put words on it and just like, okay, how do I feel, this kind of things. But at the same time, um, I think we musicians and artists were storytellers. So I found, just the thing about writing, about my music or my life or just poetry, um, it just opened a new window for me that is actually very necessary for my relationship with myself, with the music, with art, and with everything. So I'm not sure if I'm good on it, but I just love it, and that's true. Just for poetry, or also to write some lyrics. I also did a bolero. That is a song. It's also very related, to my life and experiencing all that, and actually I wrote the lyrics for that. So I, even if I composed for my trio, for flute and all that, when I did that and I was writing the lyrics, I discovered the word of of songs, the word of actually communicating through words, through your language, and that's, for me, it's like another level of communication, because I think when I'm communicating with the flute, even if you get it's more abstract in a way, but when you're actually meaning something, when you're saying like concrete things, it's like that goes directly to your heart. And for me, like the voice is like the supreme thing. Like, I'm, as a flautist, I'm trying to imitate the voice and to imitate that language and to imitate that inflection, so it can actually get into your heart, because we have articulation, we breathe, we have so many connections with our voice, as a woodwind instrument. But for me, the lyrics and poetry and that expression of just talking to you through a song, it's just, for me, it goes right there. It's nothing better than that.
Yeah, I can tell like with the video, like
Yeah.
this is all great stuff. So What do you like about teaching your instrument? Do you play any other instruments?
Yeah, I actually learned piano. It was mandatory actually in my school, and I loved it. I think the piano is this instrument that is just like it's like an orchestra you have, in your hands. And it was actually the first instrument I kind of played. I had a friend. She had a piano at home. It was, this kind of, I just want to try, with your two fingers thing, just trying actually to have some tunes out of it. Um, and for me, it was just like a massive animal. It's like, wow, look at this. The piano has this something that is just huge. And for a little girl, of course, I actually saw this instrument. It was like, wow, I just want to play this. And I actually, when I started the elementary school, I also learned some piano. Um, and that's it, because I'm also, even if of course I experimented with sax and clarinet and all that. um I'm this kind of person that's like, I want to be a flutist, and I want to explore the limits of that instrument. But I don't want to be like, even if I try different flutes and different woodwind instruments, I want actually to focus in that. I feel like I'm doing a lot of stuff uh, to actually also play a lot of instruments. Um, so my main focus, I want to actually to be the flute, and within the flute explore and kind of break the limits and go beyond the instrument, and explore with extended techniques and electronics, and how can I do interesting and new and fresh things, and how can I mix this style with this one, like this kind of thing. But I want actually to go with the flute and explore the limits of that instrument. Now, in terms of teaching, I just love teaching, because I feel everyone should actually know music. I feel music teaches you so much about yourself. And that's true also for arts and for sports. Like everything actually we do in life is a learning experience. So for example, when you learn flute, and I have been having so many kind of students from different backgrounds, different cultures, different ages, and for each one it's like it's a whole different word. How to breathe, being conscious about different muscles, when you are playing that you're not conscious of. How to, I mean, actually, for playing your instrument, you need to be relaxed. So working on relaxation, how to be conscious, as we said before, of the way you were breathing, the way you use your diaphragm, the way actually you use your wrists, your arms, your shoulders, your throat, your jaws. It's like, how can we actually use all those muscles to create music? And how can I actually connect and be conscious about the relaxation and the control of all those muscles, and then about confidence. How can I actually be confident with what I want and with what I have to offer to the world? Being confident about myself, being okay with sounding bad at the beginning, because a lot of people, it's like, why? It's like, I want actually to be perfect from the beginning. Why this sound is so airy, or I can't actually get any sound of the instrument, and they actually get frustrated. Like, how can you actually face frustration? How can you be actually good with sounding bad at the beginning? How can you be resilient? How can you, like, the music actually is a challenging thing, and a lot of people actually, or we actually live in a world when we are having less and less frictions and less challenges. Like, we want something like is quick now, and it's just easy. And that's true for food, for the experience, for everything. We just want that flash of something that just go easy and go fast. And sometimes, music, you just need to spend some hours. It's not like I'm bad for it or I can't. It's just like, just need to spend more time. It's just something that you actually need time for it. And for me, it's just a way of learning a lot about yourself, just by facing all those problems. And then the relation with the audience, relation with your ego, is so many things involved when you're actually studying music, and a lot of questions about yourself and the relation with people and the relation with yourself. Also because you spend so many hours, you know, in a practice room by yourself, alone, with music, with such an abstract thing that is music. So definitely I would say like everyone should actually start, if not music, some kind of art or sport, you know, like something that actually connects you to a different kind of world and universe, you know. Because if you think about that, I was spending 8 hours daily in a practice room being a little girl of 10 years. So that's crazy, you know, that takes a lot of focus. And that's something also, that's one of the challenges now as a society, with all this social media world, when we are just having, as I say, just flashing, and scrolling. We just need to, you know, to be that way with short things, like short reels, short music, short, everything needs to go short and fast. So actually it's just spending time in this kind of thing that just takes time. It's like, it sets your mind to a different time, and I think it's healing you from the society out there that can be so crazy sometimes.
We're off to our second song that you are that you want to propose to us. So tell us about that song.
Well, this is a video I made with Berkeley. It's a 2-track series that they actually did. It was just a live, well, the last one also was a live performance, but also this one, but it was very interesting. It was just a different setting. Simisla, the first tune we heard, it was at the BPC, the Berkeley Performance Center theater. It was a live performance. This one, the 2-track, is something that we actually recorded in a studio, but it was live as well. And it was this idea about just getting the sound of a room mic. So we actually didn't do anything. It was just like the way it was live, just recorded with one mic in the studio. That's it. So no editing, anything. Because it was also this way of presenting you as a vulnerable person. I was actually sharing my story there. So it was a series Berkeley did, and every month they had a different theme. And you know, mine, if I recall it well, it was transformation. So I was talking about how actually I came, you know, from Cuba to US, and actually how I actually transform myself, you know, by learning, by being surrounded of these incredible people from different parts of the world, how actually my life changed. You know, I started with jazz and with a different word, and not necessarily classical music, and all this transformation my life went through. And then I actually, you know, you also needed to take a personal item with you, and I actually I brought my childhood diary, and it was so interesting because it's a diary I started when I was 10 years old, and I'm actually sharing some of the words I was actually writing on it, like, and one day I'm actually gonna read these and I'm gonna laugh, because I'm gonna realize that's one day I was just, you know, a little girl, and it's gonna be like, I was actually kind of predicting that, like one day I'm actually, when I'm an adult, I'm just gonna read this and I'm just gonna realize how it was actually for me to be just a little girl, and my vision from a little girl. So, you know, it was a very special video for me, because it was like, it was a storytelling, you know, related to the video. Was how to be vulnerable, and how to actually share, you know, these stories about your childhood and about yourself and about transformation. That was the theme of the month. And in this video, I play 2 songs. I play Manteca, that is a very well-known standard from Dizzy Gillespie and Shano Pozo. So they have a very interesting mix with jazz and Afro-Cuban music. And then I play an original that is Cuentos del Aire, or Stories of the Wind. And it's actually something for solo flute with electronics, and I'm playing a little bit of piano, and actually say one of my poems that we were actually talking about that before. So it's a very personal video. I share a little bit of my story, and I just expose myself. And so I think it's very beautiful.
That's awesome. So we're going to show this video. Hope y'all enjoy.
Hola, mi nombre es Sheila, and this is my 2-track concert. Please enjoy it, porque lo hice con muchísimo amor.
tremendo.
Sí.
So this is my childhood diary, and I started when I was just 10 years old back in Cuba. When I came to US, I brought my whole life just in a suitcase, and now I'm reading it, and it's so amazing to see the transformation, to see that little girl. I was just 10 years old, and I started this way. In this diary, I will tell everything about me, my joys, dislikes, dreams, goals, and purposes. Then, when the years go by, I will read it again, and I will remember those moments, and I will laugh, because I will know that I was once just a little girl. It's incredible. Me dijo el viento al oído que en cada semilla hay vida y que las vidas del mundo danzan en la noche clara. Yo soy noche y también día. Yo soy danza oscura y clara. Soy vida del mundo y semilla con olor a viento de agua. Soy música y también pausa. Soy velero, soy ribera. Soy lo que ves cuando pasas. Soy lo que ves cuando quedas.
Well done. That
Thank you.
was wonderful.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for listening to it. Yeah.
I'm loving it and everything. Okay, so tell us something you like to improve upon as a musician.
Well, so many things, like when I think about, improvement, I think it's like an endless journey. Whereas all the time actually try to be better musicians, better artists, better human beings. And of course, this is so connected. I'm trying, to work on my relationship with music, also because, coming from a classical background, I'm kind of still healing that connection with music, from a system that was so strict and it was like perfectionism, and I'm actually trying to discover how it's actually not to be perfect, or like how it's actually my relationship with practicing, or how about if I actually don't sound 100% all the time, um, how I actually react to that, questioning myself why I'm actually doing this, because when I was 10 years old, I'm not sure right now what we're actually why actually I want to study music. I was just a little bit like, hey, yes, just study some music. Um, but now, I'm actually questioning myself why I'm doing this. What is my relationship with the audience? Am I doing this from a perspective of ego? What is my relationship with with all this stuff that you don't actually question yourself when you're a little girl about this stuff, and that's something I have been questioning myself, in the past time. um I'm just, discovering new cultures, discovering new music, improving. That was more like like another area, like more, emotional and area. But now talking about like more technical stuff, I just want to improve a bit as a musician. Like that's why, even if I'm coming from a more classical or European classical tradition, I just wanted to explore jazz, um, to know more about my culture. Because sometimes when you are living in your country, as we were saying before, sometimes we actually tend to validate more the external thing, but you actually don't are not very conscious about how important and how valued is your culture. So I'm actually trying to get deeper into my culture, listening to more music, trying to absorb different languages. I'm so grateful that I'm actually in Boston. It's a great city for that, because I know people from all over. Like I have friends from all the continents, I guess, and actually seeing the different perspectives and different approaches about music, I think that just fulfill like so much in the music I do. So it's something that when I'm thinking about all that, it's like, oh my god, I don't know if it's gonna be like one lifetime, and I don't know if it's gonna be enough. um but definitely working on that in my relationship with music, questioning myself, and that's something not from a bad perspective, but from actually a perspective of healing, of love. I think every change you do in life needs to be from the perspective of love, and patient, and and like loving the process, the bad and the good things. And then for the more technical side, just trying to absorb everything I can, from the swim field to the abacuaclave, to to the culture, or to different scales from all cultures, different rhythms, different instruments. How can I actually mix this with this? Okay, it's like you're like a chef. You're actually mixing different ingredients to create something new that is not new. And when we think about music from different cultures, is that something I also realized. We sometimes believe that it's so disconnected, like the music from North America, or the music from South America, or the music from Africa, and we're so together, and we're actually we were starting from a very common place. When you think about West Africa, a lot of the music we actually know now is coming from there. Oh yeah, the jazz. Oh, okay. How about the Latin music? Or how about the, like, we have so many things that are actually coming from kind of a point in common, that for a lot of the music is actually West Africa, for example, just starting a place, but trying to find these connections, and not boundaries or separation, trying to find actually connections with music, with humanity. I think that's something we all need to learn more and more.
That's that's great to hear. That's really great. Do you have any dream artists you love to perform with someday?
Wow. It is kind of a tricky question, because I love so many people, but let me see. I mean, if I think about the flute, as a classical musician, I had like this idol that was Ep11. He's actually a flutist of the Berlin Philharmonie. Amazing, flutist. If I think about more, popular music, I actually think about Sheila Del Bosque, amazing jazz and classical player as well, from USA. And then, you have like these amazing artists. Like, sometimes actually people say like, okay, if you actually can choose, like, who is this person you want actually to have a coffee with? And I would say like Bach, or, like, how about Brahms? Or, like, you have, of course, this kind of idols, in composition, in music, and all that. But it's kind of a hard question. And so I prefer actually someone that is alive and I actually still have time to play with. So I could say, as a flute player, Emmanuel Paud could be one of this person that it would just be like amazing. Or Hugo Lost. That, I mean, I don't want to say something in advance, but maybe this trend comes very soon. So I'm very grateful for a lot of projects that are coming for this next year.
That's wonderful. Actually, the next question says, if you could have performed with any artist who is no longer living on Earth now, who would it be and why?
I could say just improvising with Mozart. That could be a fun one. Just flute, and piano forte. So that could be a fun one. And then, if I think about a flute player, Jean-Pierre Rampal is one of those amazing flute players that, he started a different era for the flute, and he made the flute a very popular instrument, for every setting, popular orchestra, as a soloist. And it's this kind of person that a lot of people that actually met him, that is still alive, and I was actually asking them about it. It's like, they say he was a wonderful person, human being. And sometimes for me, that's more important than all, the musicianship you can have. At least to share, if I'm sharing the stage with that person, so definitely Jean-Pierre Rampal will be one of those incredible flutists. It would be incredible for me if I could, come back in time or so.
Yeah, I love how we have people, like generations that have influenced us to become who we are today. Just have a backup plan and just get their information, become who we are and stuff. And that's just,
Yeah.
it's called the circle of life.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So who were your influences musically and non-musically?
Well, actually, a lot of the people I already mentioned that I would love to perform with. Now, the non-musical, I could say, like, like, I, for example, love to go to museums. Just art in general can be a great inspiration for you. And that's true for paintings, sculptures, or just reading a great book or watching a great movie. Because for me, and that was something that I had it very clear since I was very little, like the sensibility is something you actually improve and develop. And it's like a muscle, like the more you actually see, like the more you actually stimulate or your senses, the more sensitive you're going to be, and that's going to be super helpful for music. So the more paintings you see or movies you watch or sculptures you appreciate, like everything is full, is actually food for your body. It's actually like, this thing called Ayurveda, that is like your body, actually you're not getting food for your body just by by eating something, but also you actually are nurturing your body by listening, by seeing, and all that actually affects the person you are. So if I think about movies as Cinema Paradiso, for example, or Schindler List, or like, and that actually started my passion about the film and the music film. That's why I also decided to make a dual major in the undergrad of film scoring, music for media and all that, because I just loved how actually movies could change the way I thought and I approached life or music. So I could say in general, I don't want like to mention like any specific thing, like like Tornatore, for example, in the case, but or this great just filmmakers, or like a lot of literature from Latin America, like Gabriel Garcia Marquez, or Benedetti, or this kind of incredible writers, or like just European, like Caravaggio or Michelangelo, or it's like in general, just seeing art, I think it's just a profound inspiration for me and for my music.
That's wonderful. This is why they say music is considered art. So
Oh
kinda,
yeah, oh no, absolutely, yeah.
kind of combines it together. So that's awesome. So we're going to introduce the third video that you proposed to us. So tell us about that video.
Oh, great. So this video is more focused into my conducting work, and it was a project I did actually recently, thanks to a grant I received from the city of Boston. So basically, a lot of my conducting projects are based in social issues. So this concert was focused in living women composers. When I started my my career as a conductor as well, I realized that we were not so many women conductors out there. And then when I started to put together a concert, I realized, okay, I don't want to play Beethoven, or even if I love this music, but I don't think Beethoven need more interpretations, need more performances from me, or really well-known artists or male artists. So I decided actually to do a research, and I just realized just 5% of the of the program scheduled in classical music represent women, just 5% still in 2022. And from that, just 1% represent Black and Asian women composers. So again, from a place of love, I decided to make this incredible concert. All youth people from Boston Conservatory or NST or Berkeley, from from this generation of people that is trying to change the music of this generation, and we're all based in women composers, in living women composers, because for me it was fundamental to be also in touch with this composer, and this is an amazing opportunity that we are missing as a generation, to actually be in contact with the people that are composing the things we're performing, and to make that program happening. I think it was amazing. We were breaking some stereotypes about classical music as well. We were doing in a cool studio in Chinatown downstairs. We were putting pillows into the floor. People were just sitting around, kind of in a bohemian feeling. I was talking to the audience. I wanted also to break this distance between the conductor or the maestro with the audience, and I was just talking about the program, communicating. Again, we're coming back to the importance of communicating, and because I felt so much inspiration when I was working with orchestras and conductors before, and I saw the conductor as the leader of change, as a leader of someone that could actually put together an orchestra with different people around the world, with different backgrounds, different, different stories, and we all together could actually make one thing that was just music beyond, everything. So it was an incredible concert. It was just so beautiful to put together this concert, and I did everything, from contacting the orchestra, the composers, putting together, the performance, the play, performing, conducting, finding sponsors, and it was just a huge learning experience for me, because I was actually involved in every step of the process. But when I actually saw that that project coming, and I saw how amazing it was, and how people actually felt so inspired about that, and about we doing that, it was just like, okay, it worth everything, all the effort. And I think we need to do more of that, and I think it's just necessary, because it's our responsibility, as young people of this generation, just to go for the change, and to help to make this world just a better place.
That's wonderful. Just being a great multi-instrumentalist. You're conducting, you got piano, you got percussion, you got flute, you're performing, you're doing it all. So we're going to show this wonderful video. Hope you all enjoy this video.
Welcome to Queens, a new generation of women composers.
To be part of this project, I was extremely honored, and I immediately said yes.
I also really wanted to be a part of this, such an inspiring and motivated group.
It's the first time a lot of us saw all the moving parts kind of get put together. It's a really cool thing to see.
We got a whole evening of it. There's just a great opportunity to have more.
It leads to a lot of really beautiful and different music than what we play every day.
I thought it was a wonderful thing to do to represent women in the music industry.
It's been a very interesting experience, not only getting the opportunity to kind of work with improv, as well as a lot of different culturally styled music.
The most important thing that I got from this is to share with people.
It's a gift actually to be performing this music that is not represented at all in the concert halls. So I'm extremely grateful, I'm extremely excited about this concert, and I can't wait for you all to hear it.
That's awesome. Okay, so let's talk about your students. So just what's your teaching method?
Yeah, I think the most important thing to me is like the connection between music and between yourself, like seeing music and seeing your instrument just as a tool to help you express what you feel, what you actually want to bring to the world, and your uniqueness and your true self. That's for me, the most important thing. And so for me, the technique is not something that you just, okay, let's just focus on the technique because I don't know, it's going to be helpful for your instrument. No, it's like, the technique is just the freedom for you, you know, to express what you really want to express. So I don't want to see the technique as something that I need to do, like, or I must do, but something that actually is going to give me freedom, then do what I want to do. You know, so it's just to create different connections in approaches to music, and that's for me something super important. And then, you know, like every student is just a different universe. So every person actually has a different background. They want to focus in different things. For example, have students that say, okay, I'm just going to learn some Cuban music or some jazz. I have students that are actually starting from scratch, and you know, I actually need to work in some technique first, how to grab the flute, how to be relaxed, the position of the flute, like shoulders down, relax, you know, this kind of hold your wrists down, you know, relaxation, breathing techniques, some more fundamental things, and then some students that are, you know, more into the approach of classical music, and they just want to work on interpretation. You know, like it's a variety of things, so many things we can actually do with the flute. But I think the most important thing and the common theme is that they feel good about it. And even if we're going to face, as we said before, frustrations, or this is not working, or why I can't actually play this note or this passage, why it's just so hard. Even if they're facing this kind of conflicts or, you know, bad things in a way, that they're actually feeling comfortable with that. And sometimes I say, okay, like stop it there. This is just music, and we're supposed to enjoy it. You know, we're not supposed to suffer with, because it's natural, and because sometimes we human beings, we believe we are what we do. So we believe I'm a flute player or I'm a musician. You know, I also do that, but I'm just Sheila, you know, I'm just myself, and I don't want to limit myself to the things I do. I'm not what I do. I'm not only what I do. So also try to feel that disconnection. Okay, this is just a tool. This is just a flute. What I want you to get to is just your true self, and why and how we can communicate with yourself and with the audience in a better way. So yeah, these are some of the things I focus more on.
What's a typical lesson look like?
Yeah, 30-minute lesson. Again, it's gonna depend of, you know, of every student and the focus. But I will, you know, always start with a short talk about, okay, what we were working on for last week. How was that? How's the flute going? How are you dealing with this? Just, you know, like a short conversation about, you know, the time actually we didn't spend with each other. But, you know, I see, like, I'm your teacher, just like 5% of your time, like 95% of your time, you are your professor, you are your teacher. So that's why for me, just starting with that short talk about how are you feeling? Okay, just, you know, and then probably just warming up a little bit, doing some scales, arpeggios and all that, just some technique to work on. Because sometimes some people actually, they feel the disconnection when they play the technique and when they're playing pieces or when they're playing tunes. It's like, no, you're just the same person that play the same flute, the same technique. Sometimes when they're playing, they're more aware and they're like, you know, in this very right position of that. And then when they're performing, they're like just moving around and with bad technique and all that. It's like, oh, wait. We want first to, you know, to work on in the foundation of being in control. So for me, again, as an element of rhythm, just a little bit of warming up, and then working, you know, in whatever we're working at, that can be a couple of tunes to approach a technical thing, or just tunes to approach, you know, improvisation. For me also, this thing about call and response is very important, so the student actually can listen the sound of the professor. So for me as a professor, if I'm actually trying to teach you something and I'm not demonstrating it, it's like I'm missing something right there. So for me, performing with the student is key. So I want you to do this, or look at this, how it sounds, or you're doing it this way, but I'm actually more about this way, like performing. And then if we're, playing some more popular music, when we're improvising, we're gonna actually improvise together. We're gonna do some call and response, and we're probably gonna end the class just by playing together or improvising together, if that's the case.
That's awesome. Do students have an opportunity to learn more the one genre when they work with you?
Absolutely. I mean, I think an interesting thing about my background is like I have been doing a lot of music. I was, like 100% focused in classical music for my whole life. I was playing in orchestras around the world. I was, studying and doing some academies in Germany. I was like really into the classical world. Like, I mean, I think my switch, it was more about how can I embrace more music. It wasn't about I don't want to do this anymore, so I will just switch to this. It was just like, okay, now how can I explore more languages just to incorporate to my music. It wasn't a thing about I don't want to do this anymore. So my whole background was classical, so for sure European classical music, for sure Cuban music. I am carrying out this tradition. And actually the flute is so important in the Cuban music. We have all the charanga style. I mean, it's huge. For those who are actually interested in that, that's huge. So European, Cuban, I mean, in general, like Latin music. And I don't love that term, because for me it's so general. Like, what do you mean by Latin? We're a continent. So, but in general, like, the flute is so important, for example, in the Brazilian music, or samba or baião, or this, or bossa nova. Like, so in general, all this Latin American culture, and then jazz as well, and in the jazz. I don't want to say American jazz, because that's also a term I have been changing, like, so the jazz from US, that is actually, we need to understand that it's a phenomenon beyond that. But European, Cuban, jazz, electronic music also, because I have been incorporating the electronic word into my playing with multi effects, with the use of the computers, the DAWs, all that. So I'm really into that. So extended techniques, like more contemporary music. I mean, it's like pretty much I have been trying in the last years to cover almost everything. Yeah.
That's an awesome thing. I think when you were saying about making effects, like back to like it was like
yeah, the 2-track. I was
the 2-track,
yeah.
that last song. That was the other thing I was saying, like just the sounds you're making with the flute, like I've never heard before. Like instead of just playing like like a note, you just like fire, you make different sounds with it. It's just it's a great thing to like know, like you don't have to just play a note. You can do different sounds, like have something to where you can't even hear before as a flute player or anything like that. So props to you with the creativity.
Thank you. Yeah, it's just to go beyond the instrument. Like I said before, you just to see the instrument as a tool for your communication, but just go beyond that.
Okay. Well, I know I get sick of talking about this. COVID. We have way more online lessons now since everybody was at home and stuff. I know COVID's getting a lot better now. Of course, we got the flu going on, so of course we got that. But my question here is, what do you like most about online lessons compared to in-person lessons?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the freedom to be in actually, whenever place you want, and then actually be able to access to, to lessons, like just not to limit yourself just because I'm in Boston, I need to have a professor that is from Boston, for example. No. So for me, it was just like a window we opened to communication and to the freedom of actually communicating and to be in touch with people from all around the world. So for me, that's the best thing I can think when I'm thinking about online lessons, just to be, in your balcony, or just for me to be right now in Uruguay and and being actually having lessons from all over, like I have right now students from all over the world, and also, I have been having professors when they're actually, our guest artists or so, and they are just, from all over, and having that freedom that the place, that the real place, the actual place is physical place, it's not a limitation for you to be in touch with someone. So you are not actually limiting yourself just because I live here, I need a professor from here, but you can actually be in touch now with anyone you want, like for me, that's just huge. And that's definitely a plus of the online teaching.
That's awesome to hear that. What opportunities would you like to give your students beyond giving music lessons?
I think, it could be great for them to organize concerts, and to actually have the experience of playing and performing for people. Because I think that's kind of a thing we need to experiment as an artist. That's why, when I'm having students, I'm always trying to push them a little bit just to go and perform out there. I think that's an amazing experience if they're not feeling comfortable with, like an audience of theater. So just perform, for your friends or for your family, but actually go to that experience. I think it's going to help you a lot, and it's going to give you a perspective of how is your relation with your audience, and just like performing anxiety, or like dealing with all that I think it's just like, again, a learning experience, and that's just going to make you stronger.
That's really great advice right there. And we have our final question. So what would you say is your greatest accomplishment so far? Any parting words for someone interested in learning your instruments? Any advice or anything?
Yeah, I could say my best thing is just to be brave enough to keep doing what I'm doing, because I know how hard it is. And I could talk about playing with, I don't know, for someone famous or so, like I could talk about that, but I think the most important thing is for you to be brave enough to every day just walking up and say, I'm deciding from a conscious side, like to do this every day, to do what I love and to be committed to. And that's also very related to also an advice. I think the motivation and the commitment and of actually, walking every day and say, this is what I'm going to do. I'm committing to this. I'm sure about it, because this makes me a better person, a better, human being, a better artist. Today I'm actually bringing something new and good to the world, because this is the world I'm living in. So I want it to be better, because it's not just about me, but it's also about the generations that are coming, like having this sensation about doing well, but truly, you know what I mean, and just really adding something to the word, the musical word, to my community, to my country. It's just this commitment about do what you love and commit to that. And I think if you're really passionate about what you're doing, I think just the universe is gonna open doors for you.
Love the inspiration and the advice and stuff. So that concludes our interview, everyone. Such an honor, Sheila Del Bosque. Thank you so much for having you here, and all the viewers out here. If you would like to book a lesson with Sheila or any other faculty members of Louis Theater Company, please go to louistheatercompany.org/music lessons, and we'll see y'all next time.